Hi, this is Everett, Everett's Watercolors. Welcome to my studio. And today we're going to have another watercolor demonstration. And I'm broadcasting live, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitch. And my watercolors my watercolors homepage is everettswatercolors.com. So I'm in the studio today live with my wife Gloria.
Hello, everyone.
And she'll be monitoring the broadcast and also checking the chat room. The chat room's live, and I see Brazen Spirituality. Hi there. Welcome aboard. So if you got a question or comments, keep them coming into the chat room, and I'll get back to them as soon as I can. Today I'm going to do a watercolor demonstration, and I think it'll be a little bit different. I was out doing some plein air last weekend, which I normally do. And I thought I'd bring back some of the lessons I learned out there and also show you some of the tools I use that are very simplified, and you still get a pretty decent painting on doing it that way. So I'm going to show a few little tricks and a couple different tools that I use while I'm doing plein air. And also I use it back in the studio. So let's go to my overhead camera and let me get started. Okay, well, this is the reference photograph I have here. It's a building I've done a couple of times in other ways, but something very different. I like the shadow pattern that come across here in the morning, and the reflection in the water, and also the configuration. But I thought this would be an opportunity here to show you a couple of things that I do. When I go plein air, I always take my visual journal and my travel kit, my travel set. And this I'll show you the one I did last weekend. I did the same scene here, of course. So I added some more objects in the painting, but you can see the lighting was a little bit different, a little bit earlier. So there was a different shadow over here on the building over here. So every time that you do a painting somewhere, you can use the same subject matter. It's going to be different. There'll be a different element involved. There'll be a different shading. Different lighting and so forth. So this was a little sketch I did on plein air on my visual journal, which I do every weekend. But I'll go back to some of the more material with the travel kit here in a moment. I really want to introduce really one of the main subjects I'm going to use today, and that's the sketch and wash pencil. The sketch and wash pencil. It comes in our website. It comes in a set of two. With a sharpener, and you can buy those you can get those on my website, everettswatercolors.com. And I'm going to be demonstrating that today. It's called Sketch and Wash. And what it is, it's a graphite pencil which is water soluble. And I think you'll find that very interesting. Water soluble graphite. Okay, so let me put that aside. And all right, gotta move my photograph here. And let me just show you a couple of things here with the graphite pencil. Now, here happens to be one I have here, and also this is one I've used for a while, and I have the pencil extender here added to it. So I can go all the way down to the very stub of the pencil as long as I use this. So I always recommend, if you're going to buy a pencil or a pencil set, get yourself a pencil extender, so that you can use the pencil all the way down to as far down as the lead will go. So what I'm going to do here is question. The question was about the Be Creative Watercolor Notebook. I know I haven't seen that one yet. This one here is the one I use. I use the Visual Journal. Well, I'll go back into the detail of that when I get to it. What I wanted to show you was a sketch and wash pencil. What I can do here is it's a water-soluble graphite. So when I put it down on the paper, depending on how dark I want to go, so I can shade in an area with the graphite, and but while it's still dry before I put any water on it, I can still erase it. I can still go in and take out some of the graphite, okay, by erasing it. All right. But once I put the Now what I use with the sketching wash, I use my water pen. The water pen has got a self-contained water tube to it, and it's got. You can see here just by adding water to it, automatically dissolves into a water in different shades. Yeah, water brush, water pen. You'll find it on my website as a water brush, but you'll see it described as a water pen or water brush. Okay, so when you add water to it, of course it spreads out just like watercolor does. Okay, now when it dries, and I'll let it dry here for a minute. You cannot erase it off. Okay, so while it's still dry on the paper, you can erase. But once you add water to it and dissolve it with water, it becomes permanent on the paper. Okay, that's one of the things you need to be aware of. Okay, so what I'm going to do, my first operation here is going to be. Let me go back to some more description. From the photograph, I did a design sketch, which is basically the drawing of the buildings, but eliminated a few of the details, some of the trees and so forth. I just want to have a background and a foreground. Okay, but I got the photograph, I got the shadow pattern, and I got the reflection in the water and the shapes of the building on the design sketch. Now, so the photograph and the design sketch will be on my website, everettswatercolors.com. It'll be on my Fun with Watercolors page. Now, so I've transferred this to a small sheet of. This is really an eighth sheet. I took a quarter sheet and cut that in half, so I made it into a quarter sheet of watercolor paper. It measures about 10 by 8 by 10 size watercolor. This is the only size I need for the drawing today. So first thing I'm going to do before we get started here is to where to get my pencil. Oh, here it is. Okay, I put this aside. Okay, I've got a graphite pencil. This is HB, which I use in my drawing class, and I'm going to sketch in. Let me put this up here. I'm going to sketch in the building here real quickly to get the size and the shape and so forth. So I do. I'm going to use about the same size as the building itself. So I come up here and I take the pencil and I measure. And I'll start over here on the left side, right here, on the left side of the building, right here. And I'm going to get that line in about the same size. And then I'll start drawing the rooftop. That rooftop is pretty well defined. And the angle is about almost 45 degrees, a little less than 45 degrees. And the size of that roof, bring it down. That's about it right there. And that's about in the middle of the building. This is the most prominent building over on the left, so that's the one I'm going to spend a little more time with. And then let's see, I got the width of it, so I'm going to put the other side in. And I'll start drawing the roof. And I get the rooftop. Yeah, I'll turn the page a little bit so I'm right-handed, so you get a straight line. All right. So I've got the rooftop in and the sides done, and let's see. The bottom is very simple. This is just the bottom of the building here, straight line. And then the rooftop in the back, it's got a slight slope to it. So I'll get that started. And you can see here the back of the roof is a little bit further than the edge of the front of the roof there. So I can come out there this far, about right there. And now it slopes down parallel with this, so I can draw the back slope. Okay, so I got the rooftop in, and now these two little things on the top here, I can make just indications here that there's a little shape up there. I'm not going to really be concerned about those too much. There's two little shapes up there on the top. The ventilation's up here on the top of the roof, just an indication of something up there. Okay, now I got the width of the building, the length of the building is about halfway down the rooftop, so I can come down about right here. Now I'm looking at it at an angle when I took the photograph, so there's a slight in perspective, the rooftop goes back at an angle and almost parallel with the top of the roof, so I'm going to draw that in. And then there's a bottom to that also, the roof edge. Okay. Okay. Now this building here this little building next to it goes up about 2/3 of the way. Now the building on the right is not that important, but I'm going to at least get the shape in. It's really a square shape, and it connects up here to the top of the roof. And where I left off with this side here on the edge, it continues across. So I just get that. Let's get that side in. The bottom of this building over here, just continue that straight line. The rooftop is just a little bit above the rooftop on the left over here, and that's a straight line. I get the roof edge over here, and now the angle here now is a pretty steep angle. There's a vertical, then it turns just a little bit, so I can get that in. And the height of that roof is a little bit higher than this building on the left, a little bit higher up here. So I'll come up a little bit above that, and I'll go straight across. And I got two roof structures. I can put those, just a real quick little bump there. I'm not gonna, and I'll continue on with the rooftop, and I get the other one in. Okay, now let's get in. Next thing I want to do is put in the windows. There's a window there's two windows here on the front of the building on the left, and they look like they're in the middle of. They start up here, middle of the side. The middle of the window is about the middle of this side, so I can go over to the middle and go up. Get the height of that. Then I'll come over here. Now the window, two windows together is about right here. So I get the width of the windows. Got the height. I got the height and the width, and indicate maybe there's two windows there. Now the doorway is not important, but it comes out from the peak. One edge of the building, one edge of the door is right there, right in the middle. So I can get that one. Bring that down, and then it comes over to about. Oh, here's the middle of the building. It comes about half the distance here. So it's 1/4 of the distance. So I'll come over here. And there's the other side of the doorway is there. It's just a small door. Indicate that. There's a couple windows here on the right. Well, how I find the height of those? Well, they're the same height as here. Come to the edge. Come to the edge. And they're the same width, same height as the other window. That's how I measure that. And then there's three of them in a row. There's one, here's two, here's three. And they're in perspective, so they will slope back slightly. Okay, now we come over here. We got a little rooftop back here. I can put that in. It's just a little roof. And then I've got three windows over here. Let's see. There's the edge of the building. Not very far in. So I get that window there, and I can estimate here. I'm just going to do a little estimation. This is straight across, and by looking at it, there's three windows, 1, 2, 3, and they're all the same. So I'm just going to kind of break that up a little bit. Okay, that's about 1/3. So just roughing that in. Okay, now I'm going to go over a window, almost a little bit more than a window width here. and put in the doorway. And the top of the door is even with the top of the, almost top of the windows. So I'll come in here, take that across. And the width of the doors is the same width, two window widths. So I can measure that, about the width of this right here. So I'm comparing sizes with what I have already drawn. And this little window over here is just out to the side. This is going to be off to the edge a little bit. Okay, so that completes that. Now, the trees, I'm not going to worry about the trees because they're going to be background. I'm going to leave those alone. Now along the waterway, I've got some grass here in the foreground, grass here in the middle ground. Right across the top is this bulkhead here, and I'm going to draw just a straight line. Come in, and I'm going to just go straight line across there. That's the front edge of that bulkhead, right in front of the building, right there. Straight line, okay. And it has some boards along here. I never gonna make a little estimate there, and I can see here is the middle of the doorway. There's a little. You can see one board right here, the board. Then there's another board that gets connected. It goes down to about the corner of the building, so I can put that about right there. Now breaking up that shape a little bit. And this board here has a slot right in the middle of this window here. So I have some reference points that I can use to key these off a little bit. And I come on down here. And that board not very important, but right at the edge of this window here is another board here. Okay. Now underneath there's these little pilings here, and I can just indicate some of those. There's one underneath the doorway, two of them. I'll get those in, and at the end of the edge of the window, other edge of the window. So I'm using the board, the building itself to get those marks. This is the edge of the window here. So I'm using reference points here. This window division here is another one there, and then this one here, edge of the door. And the other side of the door is over here. All right, so I can get those in. And then underneath that is a lot of shadow, so I can put that in. There's a shadow line here. I put the shadow line in. Okay, now the most important thing now is a reflection. The building itself, if you look at the reflection of the building into the water, there's the edge of the building over here. So I can indicate here is going to be a reflection in the water. The front of the building is lighter, so there's a reflection here. And then there's this shadow back here, which is going to be dark. So I can come in here and get that. The shadow starts about right here at the end of this building. And there's a slight shadow pattern from the windows, so I can bring those down. They'll just give me some indication. There's a slight shadow from the doorway. Okay, and this is going to be water down here, so I can paint that in. Okay, well, I've done my construction now from the rough drawing. I just did a rough sketch of the shapes. We put the painting aside. I don't need that anymore. Okay, and I'll put the pencil away. Now, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to use the Sketch and Wash pencil, and I'm going to use the dark of the pencil here to cover in. Now remember, I can just go in here. Now let me show you now. Once I get it in, if you remember, if I did that right, yeah. No, I thought I did a demo here. Oh, there it is. Oh, I use this paper here. Now, if I go in with it now, I put water on this, and if I try to erase it, you can see here it does not erase. So it's permanent. Once I wet the graphite pencil with water, it becomes permanent. I can still erase it while it's still dry. Here I'm just taking this off. So as long as the graphite's dry, you can erase it. But once you put water on it, it's permanent. Okay, so those are just a couple quick rules there about the graphite pencil. I'll put away this pencil here for a sec. I don't need that. All right, so in the background, I'm going to use graphite pencil. I'm going to go in here now. Next to the this white building, I'm going to make it darker because it's contrast. So I'm going to make the background dark against the white building. It's not perfectly white, but it's a light building, so we're going to call that white. I'm going to leave the building pretty well white on this white side over here. So next to the building, I'm going to make sure I got a nice dark area. Then I'm just going to put a little bit out here, which I'm going to cover with water here in a second. And then around the building itself, up here, and I'll leave that right now. I'll leave that white too. Also, those little vents on the top of the roof, and they'll just give a little interest to the rooftop a little bit. That's all they're going to do. Get close to that, and I'll go around those vents. Get a little dark around those. So I'm making a darker mark around the lighter areas, and then just a little bit up here. There'll be trees. There'll be so I'm just going to put a little bit of graphite up there, which I'm going to liquefy here in a moment. Okay, and I'm going to show you while I'm drawing it. Also, will be I'm going to use different values here on these buildings, and I can use the graphite to do that. Let me get this one over here one more time. So I'm not going to mark that whole thing, and you'll see a reason why in a minute here, as soon as I start wetting it down. And the same way over here, I'm going to get this building top. So I'm putting a lot of graphite around these buildings because they're lighter value. So I'm putting a darker area behind with the graphite pencil. Sketch and wash. So the sketch part is the graphite, the water-soluble graphite. And put some more up here on this side. Okay. Okay, now what I'm going to do now. So what I've done so far is I've darkened in the background. Those trees, I'm going to make them all dark with the graphite pencil. Okay. Yeah. And you'll notice here I've used the pencil lengthener here on this little piece of sketch and wash. Okay, now I'm going to take my water pen, a water brush, which has got water in it, and I'm going to go ahead and start wetting this down. All I'm going to do now, very quickly going around the white building, you'll see how it liquefies very quickly. So the real dark areas are right here next to the building, and I've got it upside down so I can go quicker. And as you'll see here, with the because I didn't cover it 100%, this will have little indications of possibly trees here in the background, little texture. Let me get this area over here real quick. This is going to be the smaller building on the right, which is not the most important one. The more important one is over here on the first one I drew. We're seeing the side view of this part of the building. We're seeing a front view of the other building. Now, as you'll see here, as long as the graphite is still wet, I can go down here now, and I can use that same. Now, what I'm doing, this is a lighter value. This rooftop over here is not white. It's kind of a light gray. So I'm going to go ahead and use some of this wet graphite, which I have here, to cover this rooftop of the. And you'll see that in a second. I'll turn it around. I'm just painting it in now to get it out of the way. So I'm using the wet graphite here that's still damp. I'm using that to shade in the rooftop here, which is it's in shadow. Okay, now I'm going to continue on. Now what I do now, I'm going to squeeze the brush a little bit, get the water in, into the pen, into the brush. And you'll see I got some lights and darks in there, and that's fine. I want to have lights and darks because there's trees back here. most important area is the areas against the building here. The areas back here, lights and darks, I'm going to fill those in a little bit with color later on. But right now I'm getting the darker value with the sketch and wash pencil. So I'm using the sketch and wash pencil to get the darker value, the shadow, and the darker values of the painting. I use the sketch and wash pencil. So right now I'm getting the background, which is the dark value. And now I'm just going along the edge, and I squeeze the pen, water brush, and that gets the water to flow out through the brush. And then I can use that as a water source by just squeezing the handle, and it brings the water out, and I can go ahead and spread out the graphite. And I'm going to come down here and get the side over here, down to the, those are basically horizon lines about right there, behind the buildings. So I got nice and dark around this white building over here on the left side. Now I'll continue on, and now I'm spreading out the graphite with the water in the water brush. And I'm doing it quickly. I'm doing it very, very quickly here just to cover the area. Okay. All right, now I can turn it around. Okay, so I've got, and I can go back here now and take the sketch and wash, and then go back and put a little bit up here, kind of fill in some of the white areas a little bit, just a touch. So I can, once I get it down, I can always go back over and put another layer on if I want to put more dark on there. Then I'll take the brush, I'll go squeeze it some more and get some water flowing. So this is a demonstration of the sketch and wash pencil part, how to use it, and I'm just covering in a large area that's going to be dark, and it gives me a dark background. Now underneath the now I can go ahead and put some other darks in also. If you look at the photograph, there's a shadow pattern underneath the rooftop over here. I'm going to go ahead and put that in. So I'm going to go ahead and put in that. That's going to be dark also. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in, use the sketch and wash. I'm going to put the shadow pattern for this building here underneath the eaves over here. So I'm going to put a little bit of graphite there. And I'll take the water brush again. And see how easy it spreads? It just that graphite just turns to liquid once I add the water to it. But once it dries, it's down. You can't erase it once it's dry. So you got to make sure you got it in the right place. You can while it's still dry, when you put it down, you can still erase it or take some of it off. But once it's down and wet, it's going to stay there. Okay, that's the first shadow pattern I got. Now there's another shadow pattern I like to put in, and that's the one. I think I'll go ahead and put this. Now I'm not going to put as much graphite on this. I'm going to start with a little lighter over here because I'm getting close to this is my impact area over here, this building. So I'm going to just put I'm just very lightly touching the graphite to the paper, just to get a color down, just to get a little graphite on the paper, because this spreads pretty good. You can see I put very little graphite on there. Now, by wetting it up, right there, you can see already it's turning, and this is just want to get a shadow started here. I can always change it a little bit. There's a shadow across here. And then that shadow comes down, it goes back, the slope here goes back, and then it comes down here in front of the building across this other building. So this is the shadow from the sunlight coming across that rooftop. And I'm using the shadow pattern from the photograph, just because every time you do a drawing, every time you do a painting somewhere, especially plein air, the lighting is going to be different. So you get the shadow. I got the shadow pattern from the photograph, and that's what I'm using air for. Okay, so the shadow pattern I did, I put in that shadow pattern here from the rooftop, coming down across those windows. Okay, Now the other one I can do, this wall here now is, again, it's not very dark. It's not as dark as so I'm just going to put a little bit, so you can control how much darkness you want by just controlling how much graphite you put on the paper. So I'm just putting a very little amount, just a light application. Now I'm going to go ahead and put that shadow pattern in. This is the one on the shadow side of this building wall, underneath the roof. That'll differentiate from that other dark shadow over there, which has got a much more dramatic shadow on that one. This is a little bit lighter. It's more remember, you got reflected light coming from the ground, so the shadows are going to be not only the light source, but there's also reflected light coming from the surrounding area. So the light bouncing off the ground and hitting the wall is also going to affect the shadow pattern. Now the rooftop itself, the edge of this roof has got a darker shadow right here on the edge, so I'll put that in, only about halfway down. So I'm going to start the roof. I'm going to start this roof with it'll be darker here at the edge, the front edge, and as I move back toward the back of the building, it gets a little bit lighter because there's reflected light in there. Reflected light. Okay, now I'm going to put a little bit of just a touch of graphite on the windows. Just a touch, just to put some color in there. And there's also I'll put some graphite here on the doorway and this window over here. So now I'm going to start putting in a little more detail. So the windows will go over here. That's because they got glass and so forth. And there's a little bit of shadow around the doorway. I'll just stick that in there, just to show a little bit of dimension, a little bit of detail. These windows over here, I'm going to put just a little bit of detail. So what I'm doing now with the graphite pencil is I'm adding the shadow patterns that I see. Now I'm going to go back in with my small travel set. I'm going to be putting a little more color and adding to this, but right now I'm just getting the shadow patterns for the darker areas. So that's what I'm using the Sketch and Wash pencil for. I'm capturing the shadow parts. Also, I'm going to put a little bit up here on this rooftop. Now this rooftop is shadow. This part's the lightest area. Over here also is not exactly white, so I'm going to put a little bit of shadow up here on this because it's not in direct sunlight. It's a little bit off to the side. The sun isn't this side here. The sun is hitting it directly, more directly. This has got an angle to it, so it's not the same angle, so that it's going to have a little less light on it. So I'm going to put a little bit, just a trace of a little light gray on this one up here, just a little bit, just to make it different, because I want this to be less defined than the main building. The main building's right here. This is the main building right here. Main building's over here. This is the secondary building over here. So I'm going to make this rooftop a little bit duller. Okay. All right, now let's see. Okay, now reflection. That's an interesting area. Oh, before I get to reflection, I've got some dark areas here along this bulkhead here. So I can go ahead and put in there's a shadow here next to this board here, next to the grass, so I'll put that in. So everywhere I can add a dark, I'm going to use the graphite pencil. And then underneath this bulkhead, there's some shadows in here. I'm going to put those in. And I'm going to leave those little pilings underneath there, or other vertical boards. I'm going to leave those lighter. So I'm not going to put anything on those, leave them white. or they'll be lighter. They won't be exactly white, but they'll be lighter. So I'm painting the shadows now underneath this bulkhead here, next to the in front of the building. So let me go ahead now and add in the water. And I'm adding water now to these borders. So this is a shadow. This is a shadow here. Next to the grass. And I'm going to go underneath now, underneath these boards, and I'm going to go ahead and put in the dark shadows underneath. And that's interesting because there's a shadow from the board, and there's also a shadow underneath onto the water. So I'm going to combine those together. I'm going to go ahead and what I'm doing here, you'll see here on the shadows, there's a shadow underneath there, and there's a shadow from the board itself. So I'm getting both at the same time right here underneath. Okay, so that's what I'm getting in right now. So I'm using the sketch and wash to capture that dark shadow pattern underneath that bulkhead. And this gives a little interest to the painting. It's you know, it's just detail, but it does give a little interest to the composition. And while I'm here with just a pencil and a brush, just go ahead and fill it in so I don't have to go back to it. This gets it done. So I'm getting rid of all the shadows and all the dark areas with a sketch and wash pencil. So the first thing I did on this painting here was I put in all the dark areas, identify all the darks. There's only one more dark area, and that's going to be the reflection area in the water. So that'll be the last section I'll put in. This kind of makes a little interesting design here in a foreground here, middle ground, in front of this building. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and add in a little bit of water. And now water is I'm not going to make solid marks here. They're going to be streaks and rough edges and so forth, because the water is moving. Water is blown by the and there's a little bit of shadow here from the window, and the building is going to have little shadows down here. And the only areas that are dark are the ones that are the shadows from the building area. The only places they're going to get dark is going to be from the shadows. So I'll make those a little bit darker. But they're going to have streaks in them also. They're going to have a little bit of light streaks. And over here I've got the shadows from those windows. So I'm going to put those in. And the doorway is going to have a shadow. Okay, now I'm going to take the water pen and just wet that up a little bit, and I'm going to keep the edges rough. I'm not going to cover the whole thing. I'm going to leave some white areas because it's water flowing there. Even though it's in the shadow, it's still going to have little light areas. This little reflection here of the window. Just give a hint of that. Then over here is a shadow from the building itself. It's probably the darkest shadow, as far as darkest reflection is this one right here, because it's got more darkness in there. And wet the pen. So I wet the pen by squeezing it. Get the water moving, get the water flowing in the pen. And over here, these are the reflections from the windows. And the doorway has got a reflection, a little darker reflection in this little window over here. Okay, I just about got all the darks in there now. Okay, I'm gonna set the water pen aside and the sketch and wash aside. Okay, well that demonstrates right there the sketch and wash portion of the drawing of the painting. The sketch and wash got the background dark. You got the shadow pattern on the buildings, under the eave on the side, the dark underneath the boards over here in the foreground and on this bulkhead, and then the shadow pattern in the water. So that's what the sketch and wash did. Get me a dark base. Okay, now let's go to the travel set. Now the travel set, the reason I want to point this out is number one, it's got a basic palette. It's got a minimal palette. And my water, I carry my palette in a bottle dot sprayer, sold exclusively on everettswatercolors.com. But I carry, that's my source of water that I have. I also have a little small cup that I use for rinsing. Just a little water cup that I have. That's used to rinse the brushes out. The two brushes I have is the silver brush. I have a half-inch silver, it's just called silver velvet, black velvet, silver brush, black velvet brush, half-inch natural hair. And then I have a number 8 round black velvet silver brush. These are the two travel brushes that goes with the set. Okay, and my paintings are paint's very simple. I have the primary. I have lemon yellow up here in the top right. Then I have Pyrrole Red, which is another primary color, and then I have Ultramarine Blue, which is another primary color. Yellow, red, and blue, the 3 primaries. Then I have Titanium White or Chinese White, but I use Titanium White. It's a little brighter. And then I have Payne's Gray, which is a black. Okay, and those are the only colors I use when I plein air, and I can show you why. Because I can mix any color I want to from those colors on the palette. And now the small plastic palette is very portable. It folds up into a nice little case here, and the travel set comes with a little carrying case that can be carried around also. Okay, so the brush, the water bottle, the palette, the brushes, and the paints all come in. The tubes of paint come with the 15 milliliters of paint comes with the yellow, red, and blue. The white and black is extra paint. Okay, but the three primary colors are provided with the basics with the travel set. Okay, now what first thing I want to do is start out with the. I think I'll put the green in. I'm going to put the green. Want to show it? Okay, thanks. I don't know. Hey, thank you, Gloria. Okay, this is the little carrying case that comes with the travel set. Okay, the travel set is combined. This happens to be free to carry it. You're able to carry extra water bottle with it and another drawing pad or whatever. So it's pretty good size. Travel has a little handle to it you can carry. Nice little convenient handle. So anyway, very nice. Thank you, Gloria. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is put a little color on my painting just to make it a little more interesting. So I'm going to start with green. In my palette, I can mix two colors of green. I can use blue, ultramarine blue, which I'll do here. Ultramarine blue. Yeah, nice. I'm gonna put that up in the trees. I'll use this up in the tree area, so I'll get a nice big puddle down here. I'll rinse out the brush, and then I'll pick up a little bit of lemon yellow. Okay, thank you. Okay. The most important part of the travel set is the visual journal, which I mentioned that. The visual journal is a mixed media. It's vellum finish, 100% cotton, archival. It measures 5.5 by 8 inches long, and it has 34 pages, which means I can do 68 paintings on this particular set. Okay. And The travel set is in my is in my Facebook or my yeah my excuse me
Everett's
in my home
Watercolors.
is my home or is my
Website.
everettswatercolors.com, my website page. Okay, and it'll look something like that. It has the brushes, the paints, has the palette, and so forth. Okay, here we go. Okay, let me go back to painting. All right, so I'm mixing the dark green now with ultramarine blue, and I'm gonna go right over top of the. I'm gonna go right over top of the graphite, the sketch and wash, and you can see here what I'm doing now. This is gonna make that green look a lot greener because of what I added. I added a base coat of black on top of that. And now I'm painting with the 1/2 inch flat brush. And I'm going to mix up a little bit more of that because I got to get a little bit bigger. So for plein air, for doing sketching and plein air work, this is ideal because it doesn't take that much room, and it's very efficient way of doing a quick sketch. Take a photograph of what you're doing, but then you want to practice painting the colors. You want to practice painting the shapes and so forth. This is ideal. I look forward to the weekends. I go out every weekend and paint. And if the weather is bad, I do it. I sit in the car or get under a shelter somewhere, and I wear enough warm clothing if it's cold. So you become self-sufficient. After a while, after you've done it enough times, you become prepared. Okay, let me mix up a little bit more. Now you can see here that I'm mixing just the lemon yellow and ultramarine blue, and I'm getting a nice dark green. A nice dark green. Add a little more to that. Okay. And if I left the shadows back here, I left the lighter and dark variable back here with the black graphite, then I get a variation on my green. So I can control the value by adding a darker or lighter background underpainting. The graphite pencil gave me an underpainting with just dark black. So you can see over here on the right hand side a little bit lighter color, which I'm not going to worry about changing, but I'll leave it alone. Okay, so that took care of that particular area. Let me see here. Yeah, then I also take a stock of, or stash supply of napkins or paper towels or something like that. And okay, now then I'm going to mix up another green. And this I'm going to use lemon yellow, same yellow. But then I'm going to pick up Payne's gray. And Payne's gray and yellow will give you a green mixture. And depending on how much yellow you put into it, you can make it a nice light green, which is what I'm going to do right now. Now that green mixture there is what I'm going to use. Oops. I just painted green on my building. Okay. I dropped my I dropped my brush on there. But let me go ahead and finish this up. You can see here in the drawing that or in the photograph, I've got green grass along in front of the building here. So I'm going to use the light green here mixture of when I drop a little paint on the painting, I can always go back in and re-wet it and pick it up with a paper towel. So I just let it dry. Otherwise, if I mess with it now, it would spread even more. So just let it dry. I might find a way of painting over it later on with another color. or I leave it alone, just integrate it into the painting somehow. So I don't worry about it. You can see this green color here is a much greener, much yellow green now with the more lemon yellow in the mix. Mixed in with that Payne's gray makes a beautiful light green. And the grass was still green on this photograph, so I figured I could use this. You know, later on this month, all the green grass is going to be gone. We're going to have a lot of brown grass because the wintertime is setting in real quick. Okay, now I've got brown boards. If you'll notice in the photograph, I got light brown boards. Okay, light brown, light gray. So I'm going to make them brown. So what I'm going to do is take a mixture of brown. What color? Now remember, I had a color class one time where I said, okay, how do you mix a color? I think we did one in drawing. I said in the pencil. We said, okay, how do you make that color? You start with a U, and it's, brown. It happens to be an orange. So we're going to take a little bit of yellow and mix it with the little bit of lemon yellow. Mix it with the Pyrrole Red. I'm going to get an orange mixture. A little more yellow. Get a little more orange. Water it down just a little bit. Okay, get that orange mixture. Now, if I want to darken that orange, I can put a little bit of blue in it, or a little bit of Payne's gray. But suppose that, let's say I want to get a lighter, I'll put a little bit of white in there. Mix a little bit of white in with that, and I'll get a light brown. Let's try that. So I've taken the red, and I've taken the red and the yellow, Pyrrole Red and lemon yellow, and I've made an orange, which is a brownish color. And then I've added a touch of white to it to lighten it up a little bit, to give me a lighter orange or a lighter brown. And that's kind of like, it's not exactly the color there, but I think it will be okay for this painting. I'm just having fun, number one, showing you or demonstrating to you a painting using different tools. The Sketch and Wash pencil, now my travel set, which I use every weekend. And I really recommend this because, number one, it's very portable with just a few colors, very, very minimal palette. You can mix up whatever colors you need with the primary set of colors and the darks and lights, and you've got it made. Okay, okay, and I think also I'm going to use that same color, and I'll change brushes now. I'll use the round brush, and I'll put that on these little posts down there, these little posts underneath. Give those a little. Still, I'm not going to leave them white. I'm going to make them brown, which they are brown. They're poles underneath in the bulkhead there. Put a little bit of brown in there, and pick up some of that. Okay. All right. And let's see what else I want to do here. I could take and rinse out the brush, because I got orange in there now. I got orange. I don't want any more orange in my plan. And I can take up a little bit of, let's see, the greenish background. I can take a little bit of that darker green with the blue into it. And I can just get a little hint of that color here in the water. Just a hint. So the reflection will have a little bit of that color of the background in there. With the water flowing there, and leave a little bit of streaks in the paper for movement. Now this area here is going to be gray, so what I'm going to do here now is I'll darken up just a little bit. On the photograph, it's pretty dark, and that dark there, what I can tell you is take my my grayscale, and I can do some comparisons. I'll take a grayscale and let's compare. Let's see. I'm using this color, this gray here is about what I want. It's gray here, so I need to get a little bit darker. So I'm going to take a little bit of my Payne's gray, and this is just a little bit of touch up now, just a little bit of touch up. Take a little bit of Payne's gray, and I'm going to go ahead and put that in in this shadow pattern right here, because it's dark. That'll give me a nice contrast to this area right here. And that's where I really want a lot of dramatic shape to be in, or colors, right in here. There's a nice sharp pattern. And also, looking at the photograph, there's also a nice shadow on the ground. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in. There's a shadow pattern on the ground that's coming from the building. Oh, this is detail now, but this is what we need to do. Find out what detail you want to put. And this shadow comes over to this far over to the right, and it goes down and meets the other point on the wall. Okay. Now also what I can do is also with that same, I think I'll put just a touch more. This is the last touch I'm going to do. I'm just playing around. Now I'm playing around with the painting now. And when you get to this point here, you got to be careful, because what happens is it becomes too busy and you overdo it. So I don't want to overwork it. But I do want to put a little more color in here. These windows are a little bit darker, so I'm going to add a little more. I'm going to use Payne's gray in the round brush. I'm just going to put a little bit more in there. And there's these windows a little darker back here. These windows in shadow were in dark. I'm going to put those in. Okay, and I think I can put a little, just a touch of dark over, just a hint that these windows have a little more shadow in them. Even the doorway has a little more dark. And I'm just going ahead and putting that stuff in. Just a little bit darker up here. Okay. And I'm going to leave those white. I don't want to change it on the top of the top of the buildings at all. Okay. So my demonstration today. That finishes the demonstration. I took a picture of, or I took the photograph that I didn't use on the plein air. I had another photograph of the plein air. So I took the plein air painting, brought it back here, did a quick drawing of it with pencil. Then I added the graphite pencil, sketch and wash. I used that to put in the dark areas in the background and on the building itself and in the shadows and in the reflection. Then I went to the travel set and put in the colors, the greens and the yellow and the browns and a little bit of black. Okay? So that concludes my presentation. Let's go to the main camera. Okay, I was having too much fun today. Went a little bit into detail of how I use my sketch and wash pencil. And that sketch and wash pencil is very handy. That plus my travel set, and I can paint almost anything outdoors. And that's what I use it for. Sketch and wash can give me a quick study of lights and darks and shadows. And then I can add a little bit of color to it with my travel set. And then I've got a good reference painting that I can use back in the studio. And I can capture, especially this fall when I'm going to be going around and getting pictures of different fall colors and different shadow patterns and so forth. I'm really looking forward to fall and spring are my two favorite seasons of the year. And fall's a little bit late this year. It's coming out in different areas of the states, but here it's still a lot of greens and browns around. So I'm going to be on this afternoon or this evening at 7:30 with Simply Drawing with Everett. And I'm going to do another drawing. I'm going to be working on another building, but it's going to be in a different way. I'm going to show you how to draw buildings and how to construct them with a drawing. So I'll see you next week on Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or I'll see you tonight at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. So until next week, stay safe and happy drawing, happy painting, and Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed today's, and share this video with your friends. Let them know what's going on, and I'd appreciate that. And make a comment to me after the show. Put a comment on the video, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can.
Post your drawings on Facebook.
You can do my drawing, you can do a paint along, and you can paint your results or put your results on my Facebook page, Everett's Watercolors Art Group on Facebook. You can put it on there. You'll get the diagram and a photograph on my website, everettswatercolors.com. Under it's called Funwood Watercolors. Okay, I'll see you all next week. So until then,